Hello dear student, welcome to the second revision lecture for CA Inter Corporate and Other Laws. If you're watching my video for the first time, hi, I am CA Preeti Agarwal and these videos are specially for you. Do subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notifications for all the upcoming revision videos. In these videos, we are going to discuss the keywords, the key phrases, the type of questions that can be asked from these chapters. So in every chapter, we are going to highlight the important words which you have to write in your answer. And through these revision lectures, you will be able to improve the quality of your answer, thus getting very good marks in your exam. So let's discuss the second chapter. I have divided this chapter into three parts. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss the types of companies. In my next lecture, we will discuss the procedure for incorporation, and then we will study the provisions relating to incorporation, the provisions relating to memorandum and articles of association. So your second chapter is divided into various parts. If you go through the module, you won't find the theory in this manner. It is only that I have clubbed the relevant and the types of companies together. The procedure for incorporation is clubbed together, and the relevant provisions of memorandum and articles are covered in the latter part of this chapter. Okay, so everything from the module is covered, only the placement has changed. All right, so let's go through the types of companies. My students are aware, yes, my full course and fast track students are aware that we discuss the types of companies together because these provisions are related, they are interconnected to each other. I'm not putting the procedure for incorporation and confusing you. Okay, so on the basis of members, the companies may be classified as a one-person company, private or public company. On the basis of liability, they may be classified as company limited by shares, guarantee. We can even have an unlimited liability company. Why will someone want to incorporate an unlimited liability company when the main feature of a company is limited liability? We will be discussing that shortly. Then we have classification on the basis of control and capital. First, let us discuss the company on the basis of members. And the first classification, the first type of company is a one-person company. As the name suggests, it has only one member. Minimum and maximum is just one. Okay, so we can write it over here. The minimum number of members is 1 and the maximum is also 1. Therefore, OPC cannot allot shares to any other person because there is a maximum limit of just 1. It can allot shares to its member only and to no other person because the maximum limit of member is just one member. Now let us go on highlighting the keywords. Students, if you compare these notes with the module, you will find that each and every point of the module and everything is covered in these notes. So you will be able to find the provisions very easily. What is the eligibility? Now, is eligibility important? Yes, this is the most frequently asked provision in the exam. Many questions like a case-based question, MCQ, case-based MCQ is generally asked on the eligibility of a member and nominee. So here we are discussing about eligibility. I like to make notes in the left-hand margin so that it is easy for me to recollect the concepts one day before the exam. So what are the key words? What are the key points that you need to remember? Only a natural person who is an Indian citizen, whether he is resident in India or not, can incorporate an OPC. Incorporate, it means he can become a member in OPC or he can become a nominee. So can I say that the eligibility that we are discussing is not only for the member, but this eligibility applies to nominee also. I don't think at this stage I need to explain who a nominee is and what he does. You have been studying this since foundation. So this is the eligibility for member as well as nominee. So these are my last minute revision notes. Member as well as nominee. So what is the eligibility? The first requirement is that person must be a natural person, a living person, and he must be an Indian citizen. Citizenship is also available to a living natural person only. Whether resident in India or not, it means even a non-resident Indian can incorporate or become a nominee in OPC. Now, because the word resident is used, we need to define that. See, anyways, person may or may not be a resident, but still they have defined it, although it has no relevance because even a non-resident Indian can incorporate an OPC. But we need to know because the word is mentioned. So a person who stays in India for at least 120 days during the immediately preceding financial year. Okay, this can be asked as a multiple choice question. They will give you option of 182 days, 180 days, 120 days. So you have to select that a person who stays in India for at least 120 days when during the immediately preceding financial year will be considered as a resident. So yes, this can be asked as a multiple choice question. Over here you can write on, this can be asked as a case based question. It can also be asked as a multiple choice question or a case scenario multiple choice question. Now, what is the work of a nominee? So when the member dies or he becomes incapable of contracting, the nominee will become the member. So what is the sequence? Let us quickly go through the sequence. So we have a member, and to maintain perpetual succession, we have a nominee. All right. So because there is just one member, we are very much concerned as to what if something happens to the member. Nothing to worry. The nominee will become the member. And yes, in this case, if the member dies or he becomes permanently incapable, nominee will become the member. Now the nominee's place is empty. He will within 15 days nominate some other person. Okay, then he will appoint some other person as a nominee, and this procedure will continue. This is nothing but perpetual succession. Okay. Memorandum will indicate name of the nominee. So this is one of the contents of memorandum. In case of OPC, we have different clauses of memorandum, like the name clause, the object clause, registered office clause. This is one of the clauses, but in case of OPC, this clause will not be present in case of other companies. So in case of OPC, the memorandum will mention the name of that nominee. We cannot just name any random person as a nominee. I need to obtain the consent of that person. See, if tomorrow I go and write that Mr. Mukesh Ambani is the nominee of my OPC, everybody will wonder, has he actually agreed to become your nominee? So we need to obtain a prior consent. The prior word is important over here because we need to obtain the consent before we make him the nominee or we write his name in the memorandum, and that consent will be obtained in form INC 3. So INC 3 will be filed. It's a non-e form. Non-e form means you have to fill it. You don't have to file it with the ROC separately. It is not. You can fill it electronically if you want, but it's not an e form. It will be submitted as an attachment to INC 2, which is nothing but a form for incorporation of OPC. So INC 3 is a non-e form. It will be submitted as an attachment with INC 2, which is to be filled for incorporating OPC. So prior consent of the nominee is required. His name and consent will be filed with ROC. So what is the sequence in this case? We will obtain the consent and then we will file that consent with ROC along with the form for incorporation. Can I change the nominee later? Yes. Can the nominee withdraw his consent later? Yes, that is also possible. There is a procedure and you need to follow that procedure. You can also change the nominee. Nominee can also withdraw his consent. No person shall be eligible to incorporate more than one OPC. Okay, so no person more than one OPC. Incorporate word is also important for us. He cannot be a nominee in more than one such company. So can I say at a time I can be member in one, at a time I can be nominee in one only. So can we say that person cannot be a member in two OPCs? He cannot be a member in two OPCs. He cannot be a nominee in two OPCs. But ma'am, can he be member in one OPC, nominee in another OPC? Yes, that is possible. Nominee in another OPC. Now, what if he is member in one, nominee in another, but the OPC where he is nominee, the member dies? Now this nominee has become a member. He's already a member in another OPC. Now he has become a member in two OPCs. He has to, within 180 days, decide the OPC where he wishes to continue as a member. Okay, so within 180 days, this 180 days is also of importance. You can highlight this. This can be asked as a multiple choice question. Yes, nominee has the right to withdraw his consent. I don't want to continue as a nominee. There is a set procedure that the nominee will intimate the OPC and the member that I don't wish to continue as a nominee. So what is the procedure in this case? I'll quickly read it out for you. The nominee will inform the member and OPC that I don't wish to continue. Then the member will within 15 days appoint some other person as the nominee. You cannot keep that place vacant. He has withdrawn his consent. Then the member will inform the OPC and OPC will then inform the ROC. So that is the procedure. We can also change the nominee by intimating in writing to the company. You can also change the nominee of OPC. Form to be filed for change of nominee is INC 4. Now INC 4 is filed for change of nominee, and it is also filed for change of member in case the member dies or he becomes incapable and the nominee is appointed as a member. Obviously consent of the new nominee will be obtained in INC 3. Change in the nominee will not be considered as alteration of memorandum. This is very important for us, can be asked as a case-based question. It simply means that if there is a change in the nominee, that is not considered as alteration of memorandum. It means the procedure for alteration need not be followed. Minor cannot be member or nominee of the OPC because he's not capable of contracting. OPC cannot be, this is very important for either a case-based question, maybe a 1 or 2 mark question will be asked. Can a Section 8 company be incorporated as OPC? No. Can I convert OPC into Section 8 company? No. 1 or 2 mark question can be asked on this. So this is important for 1 or 2 mark question. OPC can, however, be converted into a private or public company. There is no time limit. There is no threshold of paid up capital or turnover. You can anytime convert OPC into either private or a public company by complying with their respective requirements. Like in case of company converted, OPC is converted into a private company. So you need to make alterations in the articles. You need to increase the number of members. So after complying with those requirements, passing resolutions, you can convert your OPC into either a private or a public company. OPC cannot, this is also very important for multiple choice questions. It can also be asked as a 1 or 2 mark case-based question. Not very high weightage, but 1 or 2 mark question can be asked. It cannot carry out non-banking financial investment activities, including investment in securities of any other body corporate. OPC cannot invest in the securities of another body corporate, even though you may say that it is a company, one company can purchase shares of another company, but OPC cannot invest in its name. Member can invest in the securities of any other body corporate in the name of the member, not OPC. The words OPC will be written in the name wherever it is fixed or engraved. That is a very simple point. Next we have, so in this, what is important for me? Eligibility is important. It cannot carry out non-banking financial activities. Minor cannot become a nominee. Change in the nominee is not considered as alteration of the memorandum. These are few points on which question is asked. I also highlighted the parts which are important for multiple choice question and case-based question. Yes, the entire concept of one person company is important. You need to memorize all the provisions. Any kind of question can be asked on this. Private company, yes, very important for case-based question and MCQ. Case-based question and multiple choice question. Simple multiple choice question will be asked. That case scenario will not be asked on a private company. It's a very small concept for that. But yes, small MCQs can be asked. Now, on which part of private company question will be asked? The limit of 200, that is generally asked. Okay, so I want to convert a public company into a private company. Do I need to reduce the members? So will this be person considered as a member while calculating the maximum limit of 200? Generally questions are asked on that only. So private company means a company having minimum paid up capital as may be prescribed. Nothing has been prescribed as of now. There are 3 restrictions. The first restriction is that there is a restriction on transfer. Do we need to remember these 3 restrictions? Yes, they are important. For exam, you need to memorize this. Okay, so restrictions applicable to the private company. These restrictions are mentioned in the articles. It is important for you to know that the company is bound only by the restrictions mentioned in the articles. I'm not bound by any restrictions which is agreed by the members separately. I am bound only by the restrictions mentioned in the articles. These are compulsorily mentioned in the articles of any private company. So there is restriction on transfer of securities. If you want to transfer shares, first offer it to existing members, or you can offer it to the existing members, or if you want to transfer, you can do so only after obtaining the consent of the director. The second restriction, and the one on which maximum questions are asked, it is the limit is restricted to 200. Do we need to memorize the definition of a relative? Yes, not very frequently asked in the exam, but can be asked as a question. I don't know, because ICAI generally has a pattern of asking questions on a private company, but yes, you need to know who a relative is. Okay, so yes, go through the definition, and this is covered in Rule 4 of the Companies Act. But yes, this is very important for exam. Generally, a question is asked on the second restriction, that is, except in case of one person company, because there the maximum limit is 1. Why are we referring it over here? Because a one person company is considered as a special type of private company only. So that is why we apply the provisions of a private company to OPC. That is why they have mentioned over here, except in one person company, the maximum number of members is restricted to 200. Now, while calculating the number of 200 employees, I'll highlight that. Employees who are members, they are currently members, as well as they are ex-employees who have left the employment but they still continue to hold the shares, they will not be considered. Joint holders will be treated as a single member. Now let us discuss something upon this. What about employees who are members? Okay, so present employees means the current employees. I'll also highlight the word present. Present employees who are members, ex-employees, they have left the organization but they continue to remain the members of the company. Okay, they continue to be members even after employment has ceased. So can I say that current employees plus ex-employees shall be excluded from 200? Yes. So why they are excluded? Because we want to encourage companies to allot securities to members, to employees, so that they feel associated with the company. Okay, so we say don't include them, you can exclude them now. But in this case, you need to remember that person should first be an employee and then you have given him shares. Only then he will be excluded. What if he was a member and then he became an employee? Then you will not exclude that person. Directors, they are to be considered while calculating the limit of 200. But what if the director is also a member of the company? He is holding the shares, then that person will be excluded. These are 2 points which you need to remember over here. What about joint shareholders? They will be counted just once. So let's say that Mr. Iyer and Mrs. Iyer, okay, they are the joint shareholders of the company. They will be counted just once while calculating the maximum limit of 200. What if in my company I have 199 shareholders and we allotted shares to Mr. and Mrs. Iyer? Do I need to make any amendments? Do I need to convert the company? Has it exceeded 200? Answer is no, because joint holders will be counted as one. So I have maximum 200 in this case. If it increases beyond this, then yes, it will no longer remain a private company. You will have to convert it into a public company. There is a prohibition on offer of securities to the public. It means you cannot go for public offer of securities, but yes, you can offer the securities through private placement, bonus shares can be allotted, rights issue, you can go for that, but you cannot offer securities to the public. That is to preserve the private character of the company. That is why the restriction has been imposed. What if these restrictions are not there? Yes, there was a time when they would ask question on this. Okay, here, what if these 3 restrictions are not there in the articles of a private company? Then it will be deemed to be a public company. What should we do? We should alter the articles and include these restrictions if you want to continue as a private company. Okay, so by passing a special resolution, the articles should be amended and we should include these restrictions. This is important for a case-based question, but it will be asked like a theory question only. Like they will give you a case and separately they will ask you one small sub question. What if these 3 restrictions are not there? Then you will say that in this case it will be deemed to be a public company. We should alter the articles, include those restrictions. What if the company does not comply with the provisions of section 2 clause 68? Yes. What if the company fails to comply with these restrictions? There are no restrictions. It will lose all the privileges of a private company. It will be treated just as a public company. Now please note that these are the keywords. They have to be present in your answer. If the company does not comply with the provisions of section 2 clause 68, it will lose all the privileges and exemptions of a private company. It will be treated just like a public company. So what should we do? We should alter the articles, include these restrictions. What is a public company? Yes, public company means a company which is not a private company. Excellent definition. Do you need to memorize the section number? Yes, section number is important. Even for private company, section 2 clause 68 is important. Section 2 clause 62 covers OPC. That is also important. Although it is not frequently asked in the exam, you may not have to write that in the exam, but you should be aware. Public company, yes, it's a company which is not a private company. Now, I don't think a question will be asked on that. On what part will a question be asked? This is important for exam. Okay. Provided that a private company which is a subsidiary of a public will be considered as public even though it continues to remain private by its articles. Ma'am, what does it mean? Now, let's say, for example, I have X Limited. This is a public company. I have Y private limited. This is a subsidiary company of a public company. For the purpose of this act, the private subsidiary will be considered to be a public company. It will be deemed to be a public company. What does it mean? Does it mean that I need to change the name? I need to remove the word private from its name? Does it mean that the articles will no longer contain those 3 restrictions? No. You can continue to remain private by your articles. Only thing is that the privileges, the exemptions to a private company will no longer be available. All the provisions of a public company shall apply. That is the interpretation of this proviso. Then you have companies which are classified on the basis of liability. Very, very simple. I don't think I need to even discuss it. Company limited by shares. In this case, the liability of the company is limited to the amount of amount unpaid on the shares. When should this be called and how much should be called? It's left at the discretion of the director. Should we call it during the lifetime or at the time of winding up? We have left everything to the discretion of the company. What about the company limited by guarantee? Now, in this case, the company may have share capital. It may not have share capital. It need not have share capital because these type of companies, they generally, they are non-profit organizations. They get a lot of money from charity, endowment, donation, etc. So they don't need your money during the lifetime. They don't need your share capital. But yes, these companies want your help at the time of winding up. So members guarantee. It is not compulsory that each and every person has guaranteed the same amount. They can guarantee any amount that they want. But it is in this case the liability which arises at the time of winding up of the company. What if the company is a guarantee company but it does not have share capital? Then the members have just one liability, and that is the amount of guarantee. When can we recover this amount? This amount can be recovered from the members at the time of winding up. Okay, winding up. What if the company does have share capital? Then there are 2 liabilities of the members. The first liability will be the amount which is unpaid on shares. The unpaid amount on shares, that is one liability. And the second liability will be the amount of guarantee. The amount of guarantee can be recovered at the time of winding up, whereas the amount unpaid on shares can be recovered anytime during the lifetime of the company. Okay, now what are the keywords in this? There are no keywords as such. This is a very simple concept. You can write it in your own words in the exam. Okay, next we have unlimited liability company. Is this asked in CA inter level? No. Can be asked as in foundation, but I don't think it will be asked at CA inter level. There's just one thing which is important for us to actually. Unlimited liability, does it mean that the liability is always unlimited? No. During the lifetime, the members get to enjoy limited liability. Yes, it is always unlimited as far as the creditors are concerned, but it is only at the time of winding up that the liability actually becomes unlimited. So what happens at the time of winding up? These creditors, they are not getting their money. So the creditors make an application to the court asking the court to wind up the company. So they apply for liquidation of the company. The court will appoint a liquidator. The liquidator sells the assets and he tries to pay off the liability. In case there is something which is short, so then he will remind the members, see members, your liability is unlimited, please contribute. Okay, so the members will pay money to the liquidator and the liquidator will go and pay that money to the creditor. Why can't the creditor directly file case against the member? Why does the creditor have to go through the route of applying to the court? Then the court will appoint a liquidator. Liquidator will then recover money from the members. Why can't the creditors directly file case against the members? It is worth noting that the creditors have a contract with the company. Creditors do not have contract with the shareholder, separate legal status. Since they have a contract with the company, the shareholders in this case are stranger to contract. That is why we cannot file case against the shareholders. We can file case against the company because our contract is with the company. So that is the reason. Next, we have government company. We already discussed this in my previous lecture. The key word over here is at least 51%. It's not 50%, it is 51% of the shares are held either by the central government, state government, partly by central, partly by state government. What is most important over here? Acha, you need to also know that in case the company has issued shares with differential voting rights, and instead of paid up capital, we will consider the total voting power if shares with differential voting rights have been issued. What is important for me over here is company which is a subsidiary of the government company is also considered as a government company. Okay, so a company, we will highlight this, you need not use a highlighter, but yes, company which is a subsidiary of the government company, which it will include, means that is also considered as a government company. All the provisions of a government company shall apply. What is important for exam in this case? This question is important for exam. The if we add the holding, it comes to exact 50%. Is it a government company? No, I need at least 51%. Okay, so only when it is 51%, the holding is 51%, then it will be considered as a government company. Holding of central government, state government, partly central, partly by state government, one or more state governments. Okay, what is important from this part? See, this is something which we have already studied in foundation. What is important? Important is what is the meaning of electronic mode. Do we need to memorize the definition? Yes, because your answer will always start with the definition. So you have to learn this definition along with the section number. Okay, now what kind of question will be asked? It will be asked on the electronic mode. Do we need to remember the rule over here? Yes, you need to memorize that the term electronic mode is explained in rule 2 of the company specification of definition detail rules 2014. What is the meaning of electronic mode? Now you will have to memorize this. Unfortunately, there is no other way out. You will have to memorize what is considered as electronic mode. So you have B2B, B2B, B2C. Now, after watching Shark Tank, everybody knows what is B2B and what is B2C. So, B2B, B2C, business to business, business to consumer. So, if you are providing services electronic, I'm not explaining the definition over here because that is something which you are already aware of. These are keywords, phrases, important things, type of questions that can be asked. So, you already know the definition, but what kind of question will be asked on that? It will be asked on electronic mode. If a question is asked on electronic mode, this is the question which will be asked. They will not do any change in the question. It will be 100%. The framing will also be in this manner only. Okay, in this it is important for us. We sometimes get confused. The company is doing online business through telemarketing, but it is having its main server for online business outside India. We are not concerned where the server is. If you are present electronically, then you will be considered as a foreign company. Okay, now how do we start the answer? We will start the answer by writing the definition. So that is why I asked you to learn the definition by heart, because you will always start the answer by writing the definition along with the section number. Then you will write that rule 2 explains the term electronic mode. It is also important, we will highlight this also, whether the main server is installed in India or not. So we are not concerned where the main server is installed. If you are present in this manner, you are present electronically, you are a foreign company. So B2B, that is business to business, business to consumer, data interchange, other digital supply. So can I say this is B D? Okay, this is my mnemonic which I am creating. D will be repeated, it is coming 3 times, but this is how we will create a mnemonic. B is business to business, business to consumer. D is now, as of now, it is data interchange and it is digital supply transaction. So remember D. So B D, B D. D is coming twice, so B D square, but I will increase it later. Accepting deposit, so this is B D cube. Okay. Then we have financial settlement, web-based marketing, advisory, transactional services, database services. So we have F, we have M because it is financial. You have marketing also over here, web-based marketing. Then we have online services like telemarketing, telecom. This is very easy to remember. So T, okay. So T is telemarketing, telecommuting, telemedicine, education, information research. How to remember what comes next? Is telemarketing, telecommuting. When you market, you communicate, okay? And telemedicine and education, I learn medicine. So this is how I remember the connecting words. So telemarketing, telecommuting, telemedicine, education, okay? Information research and all data. So D is now coming 3 times. So data interchange, digital supply, then you have deposits, and another D is data related services. So here you have email, mobile devices, social media, cloud computing, voice data transmission. So if you are present in this manner, then you will be considered as if you are present electronically. We are not concerned where the servers are located. So don't get confused about the points relating to server. Okay. So this is important. B, D, cube, FM, T. Then we have the concept of holding and subsidiary company. Ma'am, what do we need to learn over here? You have to memorize the definition along with the section number, because there are many case-based questions. Refer my compiler, you will realize that, ma'am, 4 to 5 questions have already been asked on the same concept. And every place you have to write the definition of holding and subsidiary. So learn the definition plus the section number. You have to learn it. So what is a holding company? We discussed earlier also. Holding company is defined in a section 2 clause 46. Company will be deemed to be a holding company if that other is the subsidiary. What is a subsidiary company? Section 2 clause 87. Subsidiary means a company in which the holding, okay, controls the composition of the board of directors. What is the meaning of controlling the composition of the board? Here we have written, you are deemed to have control over the composition if you can either appoint or remove all or majority directors at your own discretion without the consent of any person. That is the meaning of controlling the composition. Or exercises control. Again, we will highlight the keywords. Exercises or controls. The word here is control. It is not influence. Influence word is used in associate company. Here the word used is control. Exercise or control more than half. So can I say if it is exact 50%, okay, if it is exact 50%, then it will not be considered as a subsidiary. But if it is more than 50%, okay, example 51%, then it will be considered as a subsidiary. It was not in case of associate company. In case of associate company, more than or equal to 20% will make you associate, okay. So here we want more than 50%, more than half. So if it is exact half, then you will not be considered. Half of what? Half of the total voting power, okay. Total voting power. So this has taken into consideration the shares which are issued with differential voting rights. Either on its own. Now, let's write example. H controls S by owning 60% of the total voting power. On its own, S is the subsidiary. Or together with one or more of its subsidiaries. So H plus its subsidiaries owns 70% in S1. So S1 is the subsidiary of H. Okay. Another very important thing. H owns 60% in S and S owns 70% in S1. S1 is the subsidiary of H. This is very important for exam. Most of the case-based questions are asked on this relation. Okay. You cannot have more layers of subsidiary as may be prescribed. What is prescribed? 2 layers. Now this restriction is on okay, restriction is on vertical layers. There is no restriction on horizontal layers, okay, horizontal number of subsidiaries. Now what does it mean? It means H has 2 subsidiaries, S, S1, this has 3 subsidiaries. This is vertical layer. Here you cannot go beyond 2, but horizontally you can have any number of subsidiaries in that layer, okay. Shares which are held in fiduciary capacity will not be considered. We had discussed this last time when we were studying associate company. Fiduciary means relation of trust, confidence. You are holding the shares as a trustee. You are not holding it as an owner. That is why this fiduciary shares held in the fiduciary capacity will not be considered while calculating the relation of holding subsidiary or even associate company. Can be asked as a 1 mark or maybe an application based question. So associate we had already covered last time. Next, let us discuss the meaning of a listed company. Very important for exam. Please write down, this is expected in exam because a case-based question can be asked. If you refer my compiler, there is a case-based question which has been already asked in one of the RTPs of ICAI. They had asked a question. It is a very direct question. It looks like a case-based question, but they had combined both holding subsidiary concept and listed company concept. So please go through that question from my compiler to understand what type of question can be asked on the listed company. I am leaving a link of the compiler in my description box. You will come to know the type of questions asked on listed company, and 99% that similar kind of question will be asked if it is asked in the exam. Now, what is the meaning of listed company? Listed company means a company which has any of its securities listed on a recognized stock exchange. Okay. So if I have any security, equity, preference, debt, any kind of security which is listed on the recognized stock exchange, I am considered as a listed company. It means all the provisions of a listed company will apply, and listed companies have no relaxation, they have no privilege, they have no exemption. Now imagine I am a private company, although I don't have equity shares, I can't list my equity, but I have listed only non-convertible debt securities, that too issued on private placement basis. But because you are writing the word any, it means that a company, it includes public as well as private company. I am a private company. See, any a company means they are not listed, it means a public company. They have not written that way. They have written a company which includes public, private company. I am a private company which has only its debt listed, but still you are considering me as a listed company. All the provisions of a listed company are applicable to me. I'm just a small private company. I'm not even listed my equity. It's just small non-convertible debentures. They will be redeemed non-convertible. They're not even going to be converted into equity. Still, you are applying all the provisions of a listed company. You're not giving me any privileges. Please don't do that. That is why later on they introduced relaxations, provided that there are certain class of companies, even though they have certain securities listed, they will not be considered. The keyword over here is they will not be considered as a listed company. I have already highlighted the keywords over here. Now, let us highlight, this is covered in Rule 2A. I need to remember the rule name. Rule 2A of the company specification of definition detail, Rule 2014. I am a public company. Okay, I am a public company. I have not listed my equity, but in fact, I have listed my non-convertible debt. Let me say non-convertible debt securities, that too issued on private placement basis. I have followed the terms of SEBI. These are non-convertible debentures. These are pure debentures. They will not be converted into equity. They will be redeemed. Or I have issued non-convertible preference, redeemable preferences. They will not be converted into equity. They are non-convertible. They are redeemable preferences. Again, I have issued on private placement basis in terms of SEBI, or I have used both. Now, why is the company listing these securities? Why is a private company, it is not allowed to list, but why is it listing these securities? Now, this is just to provide an exit route. See, when the securities are listed, it is very easy to transfer. It is very easy to find buyers for that. So it provides ease of business, ease of trading, ease of transferability. It provides an exit route to these holders. That is why they have not listed their equity, but they are listing these securities for a lot of other benefits. So in this case, if I have these securities listed, I will not be considered as a listed company. It means that the provisions of the Companies Act, see, I may be listed as for stock exchange, I'm listed. I am considered as a listed company, but for the purpose of applying the provisions of the Companies Act, I'm not considered as a listed company. I'm not considered, okay? It means that provisions of an unlisted company will apply to me, and that is a huge relaxation available to such companies. Okay, I am a public company. I have not listed my equity, but I have listed equity shares on a stock exchange in jurisdiction specified in subsection 3 of section 23. This includes the securities which are listed on a foreign exchange, which is on a recognized exchange in some foreign jurisdiction. So I don't have securities listed in India, but I have listed it on a permitted stock exchange permitted stock exchange in foreign jurisdiction. Because I'm not in India, why should the Indian Companies Act apply to me, and why should I be, be forced to comply with the provisions applicable to a listed company? So I'm not considered as a listed company. Okay, then we have formation of the company with charitable object, extremely important for exam. I just can't begin to tell you how important this is for exam along with the section number. It can be asked as a case-based question, it can be asked for theory question, it can be asked handwriting, it can be asked as an MCQ, it can be asked as a case scenario MCQ. If you go through my compiler, you will along with the compiler you will also get an MCQ smart book. In that, just go through the MCQs and see there are so many MCQs which are asked on section 8 company, case scenario based MCQs on section 8 company. You have to learn everything. You have to learn everything. In my regular lectures, I provide these kind of notes, which help you to remember the concept. But I don't think it is possible for me to do all this. See, these are my notes for explaining and, simplifying the concept of section 8 company. But I can't do that right now because you've already studied. So for revision, I can't do that. But if you're attempting in November 23, so definitely you can go for my full course lectures, because this is how I have simplified. See, I have bifurcated. It is not possible for me to remember all this. So what I have done is, what are the provisions relating to characteristics? I have grouped them. Provisions relating to incorporation, alteration. So because I have grouped those provisions, it is now possible for me to remember each and every point, because it is in this manner. So this is how I just wanted to show you how we study in our regular lectures, because many students, they message me even on YouTube. They ask me, ma'am, how are we going to study? Because in online, when you have so many different methods around you, you want to know that if you like a particular professor, what is the method used by that person. So this is how we do. This is the difference between share and stock, although it is not there in your syllabus in this chapter, but later on anyways you are going to study. So here it is the difference. And yes, there's a lot of detail. These are charts, these are my theory notes which we write in the class. So this is how we study. Okay. Now, what are the characteristics? What do I need to remember, ma'am? What is most important for exam? Keywords. Let us go and highlight the keywords. The first point, it tells me about the characteristics. I need to remember there are 3 characteristics. Okay, so first remember that there are 3 characteristics. And now what do I need to remember for exam? By heart this. You have to learn by heart. It is a company which is formed for the purpose of promoting. I'm highlighting and then I will mark 1, 2, 3 for you, because there are 3 characteristics which I need to remember. So here, what is the first characteristic? That it is formed for the purpose of promoting art, science, commerce, culture, education. You need to remember this for exam. Environment, protection of environment, etc. It intends to apply the profits or income in promoting these objects, which also means that it prohibits the distribution of dividend to members. Now, please note that this prohibition exists not only during the lifetime of the company, but it also exists. This prohibition also exists at the time of winding up. Even at the time of winding up, I cannot sell the asset and distribute the surplus among the members, because that will also amount to giving dividend. This is important for case-based question. Okay, this is important for case-based question. Later, again, that point is repeated. Now, what are the privileges available to a Section 8 company? One of the privileges is that it need not add the word limited or private limited at the end of the name. So we will write P over here because this is a privilege. There are many other privileges. Privileges can be asked as a theory question. So we need to know what the privileges are. It need not add the word limited or private limited in the name. Even a partnership firm can become a member of a Section 8 company, whereas it cannot purchase shares of any other company in the name of the partnership. But here Section 8, yes, it can. We just need to give a 14 days notice instead of the 21 clear days. Minimum number of members, directors, number of directors and independent directors is not applicable here. They need not constitute committees. Partnership firm can become a member of Section 8 company. So these are the privileges, can be asked as a theory question. These companies may be incorporated either as a private company or a public company. See, if you're incorporated as a company, what is the most logical next point that is applicable for us? Okay, so what is the privilege over here without adding limited or private limited? Next is it may be registered as a private or a public company. Now, the next logical point is if it can be registered as a private or a public company, it means it should have its own memorandum. It should have its articles, rules, bylaws, etc. So the next logical point is that it will have its memorandum, articles. Articles are also known as rules or bylaws of the company. On the registration, it will have the same privileges and obligations of a limited company. It will have limited liability, perpetual succession, separate legal status, etc. This is very important for 1 or 2 mark case-based question. The company, I'll highlight it with another color. the company shall, okay, a company registered under this section shall not alter the provisions of memorandum articles except with the previous approval of the central government. But this right has been delegated to ROC. It's a very, very smart point written over here. See, at the time of incorporation, in your memorandum, you have written that I will use the money for promoting the objects. I'm a Section 8 company. Give me all the privileges. Now, after getting all the privileges, you will quietly, by passing a resolution, alter your memorandum and articles and now convert that company into a profit-making company. Convert means you are writing objects which are synonymous to a profit-making company. We can't allow that. If you want to alter your memorandum or articles, you need the approval of ROC. So that is a very great move, I think. And this is also important for exam. I want to convert it into a profit-making company. Legitimately, I want to convert. Just pass a special resolution in the general meeting. So what should I write over here? SR in GM. What is this point related to? It is related to conversion. Okay, it is related to conversion. So conversion, for conversion, SR in GM. This is how I will remember. Okay, in case I violate the terms and conditions. Now this is very important for case-based questions. So I will highlight that for you. From where does it start? On violating the term. It starts from here. Okay, this is important. On violating the terms and conditions without obtaining prior approval of the central government. Okay, I have altered the objects, I have altered the memorandum articles without obtaining the approval. This is one scenario. Second, where the affairs of the company are conducted fraudulently. Okay, so for these two reasons, one is I have not complied with the provisions of this section, or I am acting fraudulently. Then what will the central government do? The central government, I'm changing the ink because this is now the action taken by the central government. One, they will revoke the license. ROC will add the word limited or private limited in the name. So this is the second thing that will happen to me. This is the consequence. Okay, this is the consequence. So what are the two things? I am altering my memorandum articles. I'm not complying with the provisions of this section. I'm maybe distributing profits or dividend. Then the central government will revoke my license. ROC will immediately add the word limited or private limited at the end of the name. If the central government feels that it is essential in public interest, I need to memorize this. If the central government feels, okay, where the license is revoked, the central government feels that the company should be either wound up or amalgamated with another Section 8 company, they will pass orders, okay. So they may by order if it is satisfied that it is in public interest. I need to memorize these words, okay. Where the license is revoked. So this is connected. It is connected to the previous point. Where the license is revoked. See, if I am able to establish connections, I will also be able to know what is the next point. In exam, what is the problem that we faced? We don't know what should we write next. So now we are talking about revocation. That is a consequence. The license will be revoked. ROC will add the word limited or private limited to the name. If the license is revoked, then what will happen? If the central government feels that it is in public interest, they will either, again, options have come. Either they will ask the company to be wound out or amalgamated with another company registered. Why should we write all that? Another company or another Section 8 company. But before revocation, we will give them an option of being heard time pass point. Okay. This is very important. In case of winding up, okay, winding up or dissolution, what will happen? There are two things that can happen. In case of dissolution or winding up of the company, if there remains any surplus assets, like what will happen at the time of winding up of the company, we will sell the assets and pay off the liabilities. But if there are surplus assets, like you have machinery, you have furniture, you have some asset, then you will transfer those assets. What is the first option available? The surplus may be transferred. This is my first option. So I will highlight this. This is my first option. Option 1. I will transfer those assets. I will transfer the furniture. I will transfer the machinery to another Section 8 company having similar objects. Okay, so whatever objects for which I was incorporated, they have similar objects. Subject to conditions, they may impose. Okay, or this is option 2. They may be sold. But can I distribute the proceeds at the time of winding up? No. I can't distribute the proceed to members. It will amount to giving dividend. Important for case-based question. Option 2. Okay. They don't want assets. No company wants my assets. I will sell those assets. I got money. Can I distribute them? No, I cannot distribute them. Then they will be credited to Insolvency and Bankruptcy Fund formed under Section 222 to 224 of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. If I don't remember this for exam, ma'am, is it all right? Yes. Just write down fund formed under the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. Okay. So can I distribute? No. Will a question be asked on that? Yes. Section 8, this is also important for 1 mark question. It can be amalgamated with another Section 8 company having similar object. I can only amalgamate. With what? With another company having profitable objects? No, with another company having similar objects. Okay, important for 1 or 2 mark question. It will be asked as a sub question. Okay, so this is very, very important for exam. And the last part of today's video, last part, small company, there was an amendment over here. In case a question is asked on small company, what are the things that you need to keep in mind? The first thing that you will check. Acha, before that, learn the definition, learn the section numbers. I need not say that. You will check whether it is a public company or a private company. This is the first check. Okay. First check whether it is a public company or a private company. If it is a public company, section will not apply. It applies only to a small size private company. Now, this is the first thing you will verify. How will I come to know? See, in the name, they have written the word limited. Okay, they have written the word limited. It's a public company. I need not read only further because it is not a small company. This is my first check. Okay. Second thing, I need to verify the paid up capital and the turnover. The word is and, it means both the criteria need to be satisfied. Ma'am, what if this question is asked in the exam? What should we write in the definition? Should we write 4 crore and 40 crore or should we write 50 lakhs or a higher amount? Write the definition as it is. There is no change in the definition. The prescribed word says that the amendment was made in the rules. So in case the paid up capital does not exceed, what do I need to remember? Paid up capital does not exceed 50 lakh or a higher amount as may be prescribed. See, whatever you prescribe, don't go beyond 10 crore rupees. And the turnover and the turnover, I'll change the ing. The turnover as per the profit and loss account of the immediately preceding financial year. This shows that I need to check the limits every year. Okay, it does not exceed 2 crores or a higher limit as may be prescribed, but whatever you prescribe, don't go beyond 100 crores. What is prescribed? I will write this in the exam. I have to write in this manner. It is written in the module also, similar manner. What is prescribed? That it should not exceed 4 crore or 40 crore. Now, how do I check in the exam? See, theory may you will write the definition as it is. But while checking to know whether this company is a small company or not, I will see whether the paid up capital is less than 4 crores and the turnover is less than 40 crores. Okay, so this is what I will use to know whether the company is a small company or not. But while writing the definition, I will write 50 lakhs and 2 crores only. It will not apply to holding subsidiary non-profit. This is a part of the definition. You have to write this in the provisions part. If you read my compiler, you will have provisions, fact of the case, analysis, conclusion. So my compiler is in that format only. Do I have it over here? Yeah, I have it here to show you. This is some other chapter. Small company, I'll just show it to you how you're supposed to write the answer, and this is the compiler. Now in the compiler you will find the answers in this manner: provisions, facts of the case, analysis and conclusion. So I have, in every answer I have done that. These markings are because in my regular lectures we discuss the compiler questions also. Okay, so these are my markings from there. So provisions we will write, facts. So every answer I have divided into these parts so that you need not apply your brain. You know what is to be written in provisions. You know what is to be written in analysis. I have done that work for you. So this is my compiler. You can purchase it from the link given in the description box. Okay. So holding subsidiary. Now this is important for case-based question. I have also given you an example over here. Now I am a holding company. I have S Private Limited, which has paid up capital and the turnover within limits. Can this be considered as a small company? Answer is no. Answer is no. How can a holding subsidiary be a small company? No, you will not get the privileges. Non-profit, anyways, we are giving you so many privileges. What about company or body corporate under special act like LIC, RBI? No, you are not considered as a small company. So these are the few things, and I think with this we also come to an end of the chapter. And at the end of the chapter, I have a summary for the entire chapter. This has the important points and the limits, so that one day before the exam you can just go through these limits and the entire chapter will be revised. So this is how my notes generally end in my textbook. These are my notes. You can purchase them from the website. This is my textbook for corporate and other laws. You can purchase it from my website capreetyagarwal.com. So I also have a combo which comprises of the main textbook and the compiler. We also have a chart book which has colorful charts. How will you use the chart book? Keep it in front of you for 4 to 5 days when you study this chapter, so that whenever you lift your head, those provisions are in front of your eyes and effortlessly you will be able to remember all the key provisions. So students, I hope you loved this lecture, and if yes, give me a thumbs up, write it in the comment section. Confident. If you feel confident Write it in the comment section confident, and it will motivate not only me but your fellow students also. I hope to see you in the next lecture, where we will discuss the procedure. Where is it? Where is so many notes written in my lecture? Ek minute. Where is it? We will then study the procedure for incorporation of a company. I'll see you in my next lecture. But subscribe, hit the bell icon, and give me a thumbs up before leaving. Also visit my website capreetyagarwal.com for books, lectures, podcasts, test series, and a lot of content.